Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have blinked and we are at another pay-per-view. I feel like I haven't been able to rest since WrestleMania, and we're already talking about WWE Backlash coming up this Saturday. Welcome into Squared Circle Radio, the show that is for the fans, by the fans. We're going to break down Backlash. We're going to break down Monday Night Raw. We're going to break down WWE acquiring AAA and so much more. Who's we? Well, I'm your phenomenal host, Mr. Podcasting, Chris Belcher. That's the young buck, Mr. Andy York. And Andy, here we are, man. It's another pay-per-view, but we're coming off of a great Monday Night Raw tonight. Lots to talk about.
Yeah, that's the fun part of being a professional wrestling fan is there is no off season, and we blink and we are at another pay-per-view. I thought a really solid episode of Raw tonight to set up for Backlash for the things that are happening on the Raw side. And yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun to talk about this pay-per-view. Kind of a looking at the card, if you would have told me this was the card before WrestleMania for Backlash, I'd have thought you were crazy because some of these are just kind of out there. But it's going to be fun to talk about it.
Yeah, it definitely is. We got a lot to discuss tonight. If you're joining us in the chat, make sure you drop your comments, drop your questions. We'll take those live. Again, as we always say, I've got pages and pages of notes here, but you guys drive the conversation. We'll talk about what you want to hear about. Even if you're watching us later, you're watching the replay, still drop those comments and we'll get to all of those. And if you're just listening on podcast, just make sure you subscribe on whatever platform that you are on. Also would mean the world to us. For those of you who are subscribed, share it on your social media right there. Hey, listen, it's like he read my mind, Brad, our buddy in the chat. Everyone hit like and share this video on your social media. That's right. Share it on your social media. This is the community of fans here, just again, hanging out, talking about wrestling. We would love to expand this family and make everybody more a part of what we're doing. So share this on your social media. We would appreciate that so very much. Andy, we said it was a good Raw. I dare say that it was one of the better go-home Raws to a pay-per-view that we have seen in quite some time. I'm not ready to say best of the Triple H era because we've seen some really good things, but Andy, we're pretty hard on Triple H and his booking for go-home shows. This one was really good.
Yeah, he did a really good job booking this and fleshing this part out. Especially just like leaving a lot of intrigue about, the main event tonight, for example, doesn't really have implications for Backlash, but it does at the same time. Which is it was very interesting and compelling to look at it from that way. And yeah, everything that we're going to get on Backlash was the star of the show for Raw tonight, which I think is very important, but also is advancing the program past Backlash. And I think that's something that Triple H has kind of struggled with in the past, is maybe focus too heavy on pushing past the pay-per-view rather than focusing on the upcoming pay-per-view. I think that's one of the biggest complaints about his go-homes is most of the time we just get video packages for matches at the next pay-per-view, but we're building to the pay-per-view following this pay-per-view. Yep. But it seems like he's really started to allow time for some of these matches to tell themselves the show before the big blow off of the pay-per-view coming up. So I think he's done a fantastic job. This week was no different. Hopefully SmackDown is as good and kind of nails the hammer on the head even more, especially with Cena and Orton. But tonight was a great way to kick off this week.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, because last Friday on SmackDown, I don't know about you, I was pretty let down with the episode as a whole. Like it just, I could have done without the episode, if I'm being honest. But tonight was completely opposite. Like it was really, really good. I think you hit the nail on the head with Triple H advancing the Backlash stories, but advancing other stories, and just a really good balance of it. Let's talk about that main event before we go any further. Andy, it's always a fantastic Raw when we get a random World Heavyweight Championship match as our main event. And we got Jey Uso, his first title defense against arguably the best in-ring competitor of our generation, Seth freaking Rollins. It was all set up by a face-to-face promo earlier in the night with Jey Uso and Paul Heyman, which we'll get to in a minute. Of course, Andy, this was a non-finish because Sami Zayn showed up, Braun Breaker was there, and then at the end of the night, CM Punk made his return, ultimately causing the disqualification, costing Seth Rollins the World Heavyweight Championship. At the end of the night, Andy, it was Punk, Sammy, and Jay in the ring. Heyman, Rollins, and Breaker retreating. Just a fun way to end a really good Raw and a really good main event, and an absolutely incredible first title defense for Jey Uso.
Yeah, this was very important for Jay of getting that first title defense past him. And I'm really glad that they didn't wait for Logan Paul to be his first title defense. I think doing someone like Seth is really important because, yes, while it was a non-finish, and I'm not a huge fan of non-finishes, especially like TV title matches. I kind of get why you do it most of the time. But this one was done really well to make everybody involved look as strong as possible.
Yep.
I mean, especially since, there's a point when Seth ate a super kick, a spear, and then a splash. And I was over here shaking my head like, don't let Seth eat the pin on him like already. We just started this group. Yep. And when he kicked out, we kind of looked at each other and we're like, is Seth about to win? Like, is Seth really going to win this? Yep. But they did a really good job of just building everyone up involved to where we might get Logan Paul and Jey Uso at Saturday night's main event, but I could see a 6-man tag coming before then of Sammy, Jay, and Punk versus Seth, Braun Breaker, and probably throw in Logan Paul there to kind of add it all together. But yeah, I think like the match tonight was really well done. Obviously, when you put Seth Rollins in there, he can kind of carry anybody to a great match. But I'm not going to act like Jey Uso didn't do his part either. Jay did a really good job, except for the stomp sell. That one was a little wonky, but everything else was just really, really, really solid.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that 6-man probably could happen at Saturday night's main event, honestly, because John Cena is advertised for this Saturday night's main event. So you're probably not going to put both world titles on the line. I know they did it for the very first one. I don't know that they'll do it for this one as well. All that to say, the stories are continuing to unfold. Clearly, the story with Punk and Rollins is not over, judging by the promo that Paul Heyman cut the beginning of the night explaining why he did what he did. Well, he didn't give every detail, but he sort of gave us the reasons as to why he left Roman and why he left Punk, not necessarily why he joined Seth, but I mean, maybe the lesser of three evils. Who knows? But you have Seth and Punk. That story's not over. You insert Sami Zayn last week. Now we know that story is continuing. And then the Braun Breaker, we know his history with Sami Zayn. Now he's obviously going to have some ties with CM Punk. And then Jey Uso. Andy, it seems like Jey Uso is just sort of catching stray bullets here because he has that World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah. And I think that's what's so great about the Raw world title picture right now is that there's so many people that could go after that world title and it all makes sense.
Yep.
And I think that's done really, really well. And Jay's one of those guys that he can kind of be in several different feuds at once. Because now, I mean, there's so much history with him and with, like you just mentioned, with Seth and the promo that Paul cut tonight. But then, like, it's not out of the realm of possibility that we could get a Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns match for that world title at some point. Or, Logan Paul is now involved kind of in all of these, and Sami Zayn is involved in all these. So there's so many directions that they can go in. I think they've done a great job of just building that world title to not feel like a secondary title. And they've done a great job of doing that.
Yeah, especially when you have it on arguably the most popular wrestler on the roster, especially on the Monday Night Raw roster in Jey Uso. They've just put too much. I said this to you during the match. They've just put too much work into building up Jey Uso and telling this Jey Uso story to just let it go on a main event of Monday Night Raw. Yes, it's Seth Rollins, and yes, this Rollins Heyman Breaker story is incredibly important. Obviously, we're building to big things in the future, but just to throw away Jay's 3-week title reign for that, probably not going to happen. And they made the right call tonight. Like you said, most of the time we do get a non-finish on TV was done well tonight. I still think they made the right call, though.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it was the right call to keep the title on Jay but again, without sacrificing Seth in this new group. And I think that's something that hasn't always been done great. I think sometimes we sacrifice one for the other, but I think there was a solution tonight, and they went with the best solution. I think we all saw a disqualification or a throwaway match, a throwaway finish in this match, but I don't think anybody saw both Sammy and Punk getting involved. We kind of were saying one or the other. Having both get involved, and Punk making the surprise return at the end of the night with a steel chair and all of that. They did a really good job of how they did it.
Hey, listen, no matter if you're a smart mark or not, and you saw the DQ finish coming or whatever, you were biting on those false finishes just like we were. The splash that Andy mentioned earlier, the second stomp. I mean, Jey Uso kicked out of a stomp. Not too many people do that, even if it was an ugly one. But nonetheless, he kicked out. But I thought it was great. A fantastic Monday Night Raw main event. We often see Triple H place things on go home shows that just don't make it to the Backlash card. Whether this was rushed or planned or what have you, it was really, really cool to be able to get this on free TV. Not necessarily that. Well, I was going to say Peacock's free, but it's technically not, but it is what it is. All encompassing, you get my point.
Yeah.
Netflix is not free either. Listen, I'm living in the 90s when we're watching cable TV.
Cheaper than cable, though. Cheaper than cable.
That's accurate.
And we're not paying $50 a month for pay-per-view, so that's
very accurate.
That's good.
That is very accurate. All right, if you guys are joining us live, be sure to drop your comments, drop your questions in the chat. Jared Justice, who is still on his work training trip, hey, yo, in the chat. Thanks for hanging out with us, Jared. Before we wrap this, it looks like Brad has a comment. It was good to see the old Paul in the promo. It was like when he was back with Brock. Listen, Andy, I thought he was going to blow a gasket in this promo. Like, there was so much passion with Paul Heyman. But yeah, it was like when he was with Brock. And it was super cool to see him in this way again. Again, not necessarily Andy telling us why he's with Rollins, but just selling us on the fact that Roman and Punk just did him wrong, no matter how much we like them.
Yeah, and I think it's, one of those things that we talked about before, and we may even talked about it on the WrestleMania Night 1 post show, is not doing the swerve just to do a swerve. Like Paul going away from Roman and from Punk both made sense, and tonight Paul explained why perfectly.
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot. I mean, that's part of what we talked about is, during the whole saga when Paul Heyman was still kind of part of the bloodline, but Solo and Jacob and them were beating him up or put him through the table, and Roman didn't do anything about it. We all were like, how is Paul just going to forgive Roman for this? Like, this is all kind of playing back into that.
Yes.
And then you bring Punk into the equation, and you have that tension that's always there. So yeah, I thought like nobody does a promo better than Paul Heyman. Honestly, like if we did a Mount Rushmore of the greatest talkers in WWE or professional wrestling history, I honestly put it as number 1, Paul Heyman, and then like a massive stretch between 1 and 2, because I don't think there's anybody nearly as good as him ever. But he knows how to sell you on what he's saying, and yet you don't believe him at the same time because of who he is. He's so good at that at the same time. The only thing I was worried about is I couldn't tell if he was red because of him cutting the promo or if it was just the bad spray tan he got, because he was looking a little rough out there.
Listen, Kevin Owens' tweet about Seth Rollins needing to get a spray tan to match his comrades was pretty hilarious. Yeah, the spray tan for Heyman. I mean, the spray tan for Breakker is always there, but Heyman's is getting a little bit excessive.
Well, I wouldn't mind it if he actually spray tan, like, his hands the same color too, or his neck. They're like 3 different colors.
That's fair. Jared in the comments, Paul was working on a coronary, especially hanging with the model. Well, yes, we're not. Yes. If you're following on social media and you know what we're talking about, Heyman hanging with models, just, yeah, we'll leave that one to the internet wrestling community. All right, Andy, we talked about it being a loaded Raw. Jared, I'm not going to. Okay. I'm not. We're not going down that rabbit hole. For those of you who are on audio only, just ignore what's going on. Andy, we talked about it being a loaded Monday Night Raw. Lots of good things happened. Before we dive into the Backlash card, what else stood out to you? What was some other cool things that you took away from Raw tonight?
I mean, it's my first time getting to actually talk about this in this setting. I'm so happy to see Rusev back in WWE. I know you weren't huge on his debut, but I really enjoyed what they did tonight of having him go out there and put him in there with a guy like Otis, who is massive, and just have them kind of be two big meaty men slapping meat, like Big E likes to say. And they did a great job of that. But what I really enjoyed is at the end, him establishing himself above both of those guys and just going out there and just laying waste and destroying them, having people have to run out there and pull him off. I really love how they were able to establish Rusev, and kind of going back to Friday, Malachi Black as well. Part of me was hoping that we would get just the 3-second squash on Miz, but I really enjoyed what they did, bringing both those guys back and putting them into the ring and just letting their work kind of show for itself.
As I said on the show last week, I'll repeat it again. AEW, one man's trash is another man's treasure, and WWE is cashing in on that treasure in two big ways, not to mention Ricky Starks and Sean Spears and the incoming Britt Baker eventually. Like, I can go on and on and on. Anyway, regardless, I will not. We'll say that for another night. I'll tell you what I took away from tonight is knowing that next week we're going to get AJ Styles versus Finn Balor on Monday Night Raw. But, dude, I don't know if AJ didn't know what he was trying to say tonight.
Oh my gosh.
Was fumbling through that backstage promo, man. I love AJ, but golly, dude, get it together.
He whenever he said the Intercontinental, like that's literally what it sounded like. I'm like, what did? And then he recovered, and I was like, okay, I get it, but I don't know what happened. But I'm glad I wasn't the only one that caught that, because it was hilarious to see him, and like that whole segment was just all over the place.
It was. I know it was. Yeah. I mean, you could tell that one was live. A lot of times you don't know if they do backstage pre-tapes, if they do it live, or if they do it, they tape it and they air it later, because that would have been taped, they would have done that again and, cleaned it up a bit. That one was definitely live. It was very interesting.
Was it Sid who was doing a live one? It was like, can we just redo this again?
Yes. And live, Al. But yeah, also Io Sky versus Roxanne Perez was an incredible match.
Yeah.
The fake show sign of respect there from Roxanne Perez, leading to an attack by Julia. Just a really, really, really good match. Go out of your way to go back and watch that one, especially if you don't know who Roxanne Perez is, or if you're wondering, like I was at the time, why is she in the last two in the Royal Rumble this year? Go back and watch the match tonight, Andy. They'll understand why.
Yeah, I'm not don't hold me to this, but as of right now, I think Roxanne Perez is my favorite early on to win Miss Money in the Bank this year.
Oh, that's a fun pick.
I think she would do a great job with that. And I think they have they brought her up pre-WrestleMania and have been pushing her really hard in NXT still and on the main roster. So I think they have big plans for her coming up.
Yeah, you save that prediction for Money in the Bank, because we'll predict that one.
It's next week, isn't it?
A couple of weeks. You think, right? Blink, and we're going to another pay-per-view. No, this week is not Money in the Bank. It is WWE Backlash, and it is headlined by one last time, arguably one of the greatest rivalries in WWE history. John Cena, the 17-time World Heavyweight Champion, is defending against his arch nemesis, the hometown hero in St. Louis, the Viper, Randy Orton. Andy, I know we wanted to see this maybe more than once or another iteration of it, but one last time, man, I guess this is for all the marbles.
Yeah. Then again, they said Rock and Cena was once in a lifetime, and then they did it
twice in a lifetime,
back-to-back years. But
never say never.
Yeah, never say never. Part of me kind of wishes we'd have got may get another one, but at the same time, I think just a one-off between these two guys, because it's not like there's not, a plethora of other John Cena versus Randy Orton matches you can go back and watch. But it seems like this might be the last one we get, but I don't think we're going to get a very squeaky clean finish. I think something's going to happen in this one. I think that's going to be like the theme for Cena's year is like he doesn't win necessarily clean. And
Right.
I think that's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, in some respects, you have to make up for what happened at WrestleMania,
Yeah.
and you have to. I mean, you'll still do some sort of dusty finish, but it'll be a little more digestible, I guess is the right
Yeah.
word. Maybe come off a little better than what the Cody finish did. Let's look back this Friday. We said the SmackDown episode was very forgettable. We saw a Randy Orton promo though, hyping up this match. Honestly, Andy, like the promo did nothing for me. Like it didn't make me excited for this match. I'm curious as to what happens. Of course, we have one SmackDown left before Backlash. That happens this Friday. I'm curious as to what the face-to-face looks like this Friday between these two.
Yeah, me too. Because this past week, you could tell like as the promo was happening, oh, Cena's not here and they have nothing for this week. They're just waiting till next week. Like they're just pushing everything off for one more week. I honestly think we're gonna get a rinse and repeat of what we've gotten the last couple of times, and that's Cena may try to cheap shot Randy, kind of beats him up a little bit, eats an RKO. Randy stands with the title at the end of the night, kind of what we've done in the build up to WrestleMania and in the build up to Backlash as well. I don't see them kind of going away from that method anytime soon. I think that's just going to be the blueprint for Cena feuds for a while.
Yeah, I agree, and that the blueprint sort of looks back into this rivalry's history as well. As I'm gonna throw this comment up from Jared. It's really interesting. As nostalgic as this match is, and as much as we're all looking forward to, well, we have to get Cena and Orton one more time. Jared says, I know in the past, Orton and Cena, laughing out loud at his dad. That's an inside joke. That's hilarious. They've had a lot of matches in the past, and most of them sucked. I mean,
I can only think of one good one.
Yeah, Randy Orton's a certain type of wrestler. John Cena is a certain type of wrestler. Like, you're going to get what you get. And this Saturday, it's not going to be a 5-star classic. I can tell you that.
No, that's part of the reason why a couple weeks ago I said this match gives me PTSD, because this was the main event scene when I first like got into wrestling, and the matches that they always had were not that great. Like they weren't even that good, most of them. I think the only like good one I remember, a great one that I remember, is I think they had an I Quit match in like 2009. Is when Randy was during his Miz stage.
It's the one they showed the video package of tonight on Raw, right? I'm fairly certain where Cena beats him with the STF with the handcuffs.
Yeah, and Cena or Randy had Cena tied up to the handcuffs and was beating him with a kendo stick at one point, and like it was a pretty brutal match. But I don't. It's exciting to see these two guys go at it, and especially with the roles reversed. I'm not excited for the match though. Like I think that's why there has to be a bunch of smoke and mirrors, because I'm not excited for when the bell rings.
Or Jared's comment there on YouTube. By the way, again, if you're not watching on our YouTube channel, if you're just listening on podcast, I encourage you, hop on over to our YouTube channel. You can watch us do the show. You can drop comments during our live shows, and we will answer them just like we're doing with Jared here. Do you think they make it a last minute no disqualification stipulation? I think that's very possible. I mean, there's not a stipulation match on the rest of the Backlash card, so I think you definitely could. This one certainly needs it. But again, Andy, this could be this heel run of Cena. That's sort of what we're getting. That's the pill we have to swallow. All right, you wanted heel John Cena. This is what you're going to get, and it's going to suck, and you're going to hate it even more. Like, I don't know.
Well, he told us he was going to ruin professional wrestling.
Yeah.
And WrestleMania was a great start in that direction of ruining WrestleMania, or ruining. I can't say that word. Wrestling. Yep. I get that's what you said, and I get that's the gimmick, but this is your last year, and I don't see them. I don't see that being the mold,
right?
The whole run. Like I get like maybe a couple of times or once or twice, but again, the fact that it happened at his last WrestleMania is what makes it so hard to swallow that ending. Because it's It's the most Cena ending ever to a WrestleMania that it's not great. Like the main event ended in a horrible way, and it's not the only time Cena's main evented WrestleMania in a bad match that ended horrible.
Right.
And so I don't see them doing that method over and over and over again. So maybe like a no DQ step, or maybe, I don't know, something just so that they can do something other than just 30 rest holds the entire time.
Right. Well, Andy, this is our official prediction show. Again, like I said a few minutes ago, we're not going to predict Money in the Bank yet, but we are going to look ahead from Backlash and beyond. So if you're making your official match prediction here, we always say that Randy Orton's got a fighting chance every time a title is on the line. But Andy, who walks away WWE champion at the end of Backlash on Saturday?
Well, there's no way that I am going against Cena. So I'm looking at the list right now of rappers that are from St. Louis. And so what I think is John Cena is going to win because Sexy Red gets involved and cost Randy Orton the match. Because that's what this whole storyline is going to be, is Cena wins by the help of rapper.
My God.
So. So I'm going with Sexy Red to get involved, and Cena wins.
Wow. I mean, she has an affiliation with WWE.
That's what I'm saying. That's
makes sense. Again, we never count Randy Orton out, but I'm going John Cena here as well. My other prediction question for you in this match: does Cody Rhodes make his return at Backlash?
I'm going to say no.
Okay.
I don't think he makes his return at Backlash. I think we probably push it to Money in the Bank. But yeah, I'm going to say Cody does not show up at the end of Backlash.
I think that Cody either does show up at the end of Backlash, or it's the following SmackDown, because I laid this out after WrestleMania, and I am going to stick with my prediction that Cody Rhodes is going to come back, declare to John Cena he's going to win the title the right way. He's going to go win Money in the Bank, and then he's going to tell Cena when he's going to cash in. And all of those things happen, and he cashes in at SummerSlam, and they have their match at SummerSlam. And it's announced, and it's, hey, we're doing this. This is when the cash in is. And that's when he wins his title back. I could be totally wrong. That's just my prediction. Having said that, though, Andy, we both picked John Cena to win this championship match. Jared in the chat, Jared picks John Cena as well. What's next for John Cena after this match? Does he immediately go to Cody? Does he even wrestle at Money in the Bank? Is he off that show? Do we even need him for that? Saturday night's main event. He's advertised for it. Who does he wrestle? What do you think?
So my heart is just screaming for them to do Cena versus Punk at Money in the Bank.
Okay.
Because I think that makes it full circle. I don't think Cena will wrestle at Saturday night's main event. At least not this one.
Okay.
I think he might cut a promo, and that's where we start to build towards, Cena and Punk. Maybe at Backlash we finally get something where Paul Heyman, Seth Rollins, and Braun Breaker align themselves with Cena, and then that's how Punk can kind of get involved at the same time. But I think we're heading towards probably Cena Punk at Money in the Bank, and then Cena Rhodes at SummerSlam. I don't think there's any other option for SummerSlam other than to do that. Maybe Cena versus Roman, but I think Roman's kind of tied up in some other stuff. I think Roman has to go through Seth before he goes to Cena. And so I really think we're heading back towards Cena Rhodes at SummerSlam with a pit stop at Money in the Bank against Punk.
I would take him, and I'm taking this booking from Sam Roberts, who was on his podcast today. I thought it was really interesting. He also said Cena Punk at Money in the Bank. I would just take Cena off the Money in the Bank card because I think you have enough at Money in the Bank, especially if you have Cody win, or at least in the Money in the Bank match. You load that thing up, both men and women. I think you have enough without Cena. I would have Cena wrestle at Saturday night's main event because it's on NBC, because it's in his hometown of Tampa. So I would have him wrestle there. I would have him wrestle LA Knight. Yeah. Because LA Knight, maybe you don't build a pay-per-view around that. It's a
Yeah.
good Saturday night main event. You get some interaction between the two. You get a title shot in. You finally get, that match that we all want. And it's a low key atmosphere. You don't have to feel like you have to build to it.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that. I think it'd be interesting. The only reason why I think he will wrestle on Money in the Bank is because I think that's where he announced that his next year will be his retirement year.
You are correct. Yes.
So I could see him being on that show and wrestling in some capacity. But I think we got 2 Saturday night main events coming up within the next couple of months.
I think there's one in there's one in May. It's Memorial Day weekend, and I think there's one in July, I want to say.
So maybe in between Money in the Bank and SummerSlam, you could do the LA Night match.
Yep.
Which I think that's a great shout to do that on, because you have to have both those guys interact at some point.
Yep.
And I think that'd be a great place to do it.
Agreed. All right. Jared reminding us in the comments, shout out to the Hideaway Boys, Gabe and Sean, 2 locations in Pikeville, Kentucky. We appreciate their support, helping us spread the word about Squared Circle Radio. And of course, if they're watching us, thank you guys so much. We appreciate that. If you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed, what in the world are you waiting for? Doesn't cost you a thing, and it helps us a ton. We would appreciate that so very much. All right. Andy, let's continue down the rest of the Backlash card. Let's see what is coming up next. Oh, from Monday Night Raw tonight, we saw the face-to-face promo between Gunther and Pat McAfee. This, of course, coming the Raw after WrestleMania. Gunther attacking Michael Cole and then choking out Pat McAfee. We talked about this a little bit last week because it was made official. Pat cut an impassioned promo last week. We saw a really good one from Gunther this week. Pat with some shots in as well. I'm excited for this match, honestly, man. I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be a great way to do something different with Gunther while also exploring this side of him of like his downfall after losing the world title to Jey Uso and everything that went involved with that. The only thing that is going to annoy me, and I get why, because he's a heel, but that's part of the reason why I didn't want him to tap out, is because now he's going to get the "you tapped out" chance, and it just makes him feel and makes him feel even less now.
Yep.
And so that was like my whole concern with Jay tapping him out, is not necessarily that Jay won or how Jay won, but I feel like in the long run it's going to hurt Gunther. And so from now on, I think that's going to be the running gag. But that being said, I am excited to see this match, and I love the line that Gunther had when he said, "Only by God's grace are my arms going to get pulled off your throat." And I'm like, that's showing that Gunther is very serious now, and we're not to like the messing around Gunther, but he's going to kill Pat on Saturday. Like, he's absolutely going to murder Pat on Saturday.
Yeah, and I think too, man, I think he's trying to get rid of those "you tapped out" chants. Like, he's going to make us not necessarily forget about it, but he is going to, we're going to see this vicious side of Gunther, man. Like, I think this one ends, like, you just picked Gunther. We picked Gunther last week. I'm going to pick Gunther as well, but man, I think this one ends by like referee stoppage or like Michael Cole throws the towel in or something. Like, I think it's bad. Like, you said it perfectly last week. I think Pat gets some offense. He shakes Gunther up a little bit, gets the fans behind him, and then Gunther just lays into him and just chokes him out, and it's a bad scene.
I think it could be very reminiscent of what Gunther did with Jimmy Uso. Like, I could see them going the whole 9 yards of Pat, probably not blading or busting himself open, but doing the blood packet on his forehead and bleeding like crazy while passed out. And
you know what? Pat's, I don't know that Pat's ever bled before. He might just go ahead and get the razor and do all the things. You never know.
Yeah, he might go do it. Him and Devon can teach him how to do it, because
that's true.
Devon's poor forehead. But yeah, I think I agree. I think it's going to be uncomfortable to watch towards the end, which is what it should be.
Yes, agreed. Because Gunther's got to get that reputation back.
Yeah.
He has to get that viciousness back. He's got to make the people forget about the "you tapped out" chant. So
yeah,
I think Pat's the perfect guy to be able to do this too. Let's take Pat off his show even for, a couple of days, give him a chance to recover, et cetera, et cetera. He'll sell it well and it'll be fine. I wonder, if Cole would get a cheap shot in at some point, I think that would be kind of cool.
That'd be funny.
I think also with Jey Uso not being on this card, I think Jey could easily come out to make the save for Pat. And then maybe we get one more round between Jey and Gunther, and then Jey pins him clean. And then that way we get you'll get rid of the U-tap out, et cetera, et cetera. And then there's obviously, Andy, the internet rumors of your favorite wrestler, Goldberg, getting involved in this. How do you feel about where all that shakes out?
I am intrigued by a Goldberg-Gunther match, especially since Triple H is in charge. If we were talking about a different regime that was in charge, I would be terrified of this match happening. But I think them tapping out Gunther, the way that they can really build back credibility is by having him run through Pat. And then maybe he goes after Jey, maybe he doesn't, maybe he runs through somebody else. And then he's the one that puts Goldberg out to pasture and definitively beats Goldberg, in probably a disrespectful way, like knowing Gunther, and that could build him back up to that top. So if that's the end goal of that feud, whenever it happens, because it's going to happen, then I am totally fine with what they're going to do. If this is just to have Goldberg get one more win, one more moment in the sun by beating Gunther, then I'm going to have a lot of problems with it.
Yeah, I think if this is truly his retirement match and we're doing this under the Triple H regime, he's going out on his back, and he's just going to have to understand that that's pro wrestling. That's the way we do things.
Yeah.
Let's sing. But again, that's not under the Triple H regime. That's under AEW. And
I was totally fine with Sting winning that one because it was fun.
Me too. That being said, let's talk about the Women's Intercontinental Championship match. Lyra Valkyria, the first ever winner of the championship, defending against her mentor, Becky Lynch. This, of course, coming after they won the tag team championship at WrestleMania. And then Becky turns on her the night after when they lose the title. Last week, Andy, a really good promo from Lyra Valkyria. Tonight, really good exchange between the two. I'm on board for this one, but honestly, Andy, it gives me, it reminds me of the triple threat match at WrestleMania between Rhea, Bianca, and Io, where Io felt like the afterthought. I feel like Lyra in some ways feels like the afterthought here because we keep bringing up Bayley and how Bayley's the one that set this whole thing up and Bayley's the trash and et cetera, et cetera. Do you feel that way at all?
Not really. Because I think if Lyra hadn't come out the last couple of weeks and honestly got the better of Becky on the mic both weeks in a row, then I think that would be the case of, this match is just setting up to do one certain thing. I think Lyra has done a great job of making a name for herself the last couple of weeks and making it seem like she belongs there. And in the ring with someone like Becky Lynch. So I'm excited for this one. I think it's going to end. I'm not fully convinced on how this one's going to end yet. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun between these two. It's exciting to see Becky kind of come back in this new role. And to give someone like Lyra a big opportunity against, the one of the faces of the women's division. And this probably isn't the only one that we're going to get between these two.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely do. Especially because we've seen them before wrestle in NXT. We know their close relationship behind the scenes, so they're probably anxious to be able to get to work together. Yeah. I know you said you're not sold on what the ending is going to be yet, but I'm going to make you predict the match. Who do you think walks out as champion?
I honestly think Becky walks out with the Intercontinental Championship, and I think she's probably going to start to beat down Lyra after the match is over. And Bayley comes back and we start to go towards that. But I could see maybe at Money in the Bank or maybe at SummerSlam or even Saturday Night's Main Event doing a triple threat between the three of them for the IC title. But I do see Becky walking away with the title.
I definitely think that's where we're heading, is a triple threat between these two. And I think that's where Becky wins the championship. So I'm going to go champ retains here. I think Lyra walks away with championship with the distraction of Bayley. getting a roll-up win over Becky. I think we need to feed this Becky heel character more, not necessarily give her the go-away heat that she would get by winning the championship, because then you're going to get the internet who complaining, Justice for Bailey, Becky Hogan, etc. Yes, Aaron Grisham, I'm talking about you. All the people who talked about Becky wielding her power, etc. That noise is just going to get louder if she wins the championship. I'm not saying that they're trying to avoid that. I just think that it would be good for Lyra to pick up this win, because title reign's been underwhelming. She needs a signature win. And she could get that over Becky Lynch. All right. The match that was made official earlier, that was, I don't know, really out of nowhere, seemingly. This fifth match is always weird on pay-per-views. I feel like sometimes they just throw one together. This one is a little thrown together. Dominic Mysterio against Penta. Dominic, of course, defending his Intercontinental Championship. We expected Penta to lose at WrestleMania in his first championship outing. Second time around, how do we feel?
I think it's way too soon to take the title off of Dom.
Yeah.
I don't think, though, they want Penta to eat another loss this early on, too. So part of me thinks that this one's going to get thrown out because of Chad Gable or El Grande Americano getting involved and costing Penta or distracting him or disqualification. Or there's always the possibility of Finn Balor getting involved and getting that one thrown out too. So I'm definitely going to say Dom retains, but I don't think we necessarily get a finish or a clean finish to this match.
Is there another match on the card that's not on the card that you would rather see, if you're putting something together, that you would rather see in place of this one? Because again, I feel like this is a great Monday Night Raw main event.
Yeah.
I feel like it's forced for this pay-per-view. I feel like they almost said, oh, we need a fifth match. Let's just put this one on there. It's a little forced.
I mean, if we're talking after what happened tonight, Seth and Sammy.
I would maybe lean more towards Braun and Sammy.
Maybe, yeah.
But I see where for sure.
Or if you're trying to build Braun Breaker up, like Braun and Punk would be really interesting to see that at Backlash. Or I'm trying to run through both shows.
I would even do Tiffany Stratton versus Nia Jax on this show.
Wasn't there supposed to be a U.S. Fatal 4-Way?
Yeah, we haven't talked about it yet.
Oh, so it's on the show?
Yes, it's on the show. We're getting there.
Oh, I thought we already had 5 matches.
No, we have 4.
Listen, there's a lot of wrestling that's happened over the last month.
Yes, right.
Yeah. I would maybe Jade Cargill and Naomi again.
Yeah.
Or a triple threat or a fatal 4-way between Tiffany, Naomi, Nia, and Jade.
Listen, we are sitting here complaining about a Penta in WWE Championship match on a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Against Dominic Mysterio. This match is probably going to be the best match on the card. Like, I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. It could be the best.
4-way might be.
Let's say, for my argument, that this is the best match on the card.
Yeah.
And we're talking about replacing it.
Yeah.
It's a throwaway. Like, man, at the end of the day, this match is going to be awesome.
Yeah. It's going to roll. It's going to be great. Anytime you get to see Penta in a big moment, and now we've got Dom, who is this weird baby face at this point with the crowd. I'm excited to see how they play things out.
All right, let's talk about that United States Fatal 4-Way U.S. Championship. Fatal 4-Way match between the champion Jacob Fatu, the aforementioned LA Knight, Drew McIntyre, and Damian Priest. Man, this is a star-studded Fatal 4-Way match, much like the Intercontinental Championship was at WrestleMania. Now we got one for the U.S. Championship. I'm excited to see how this one plays out.
Yeah, this is the one that I'm probably looking forward to the most from an in-ring perspective. Just because of the fact that you got guys like Jacob Fatu and Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest, who we've seen when they're able to have fun and use weapons and things, how good they can be.
Yep.
But then you throw somebody like LA Knight in there, who is one of the more underrated guys in the ring. I think people forget how good LA Knight can be in the ring. I mean, he had one of the better matches on WrestleMania weekend with Jacob Fatu. But I am looking forward to this one the most. And I think it's going to be the car crash match of the night, which normally ends up being my favorite match of the night. So I'm really looking forward to this one.
Andy's middle name is Chaos, in case anybody didn't know. Along with Violence.
Yes.
So there's that. Jared in the comments, which, by the way, if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that thumbs up button. That really helps our algorithm. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe and drop your comments, drop your questions. We would love to take those live. Even if you're watching the replay, you can drop them as well. Jared dropping his comment. This is the match of the night, the Fatal 4-Way. Yeah, I mean, it probably, at the end of the day, it probably will be, especially Andy, you just mentioned the in-ring stuff. Like, Damian Priest versus LA Knight this past week, LA Knight versus Drew McIntyre the week before that. I mean, some really good stuff between these guys. I'm excited to see how this one shakes out. And this feud with Drew and Priest, and then you add the violence of Jacob in there and LA Knight, who doesn't care to, stick his nose in there. I think, we could see some weapons here. We could see some fun stuff. Oh, Jared, interesting comment here. Possibly the greatest WWF Fatal 4-Way with Bret, Austin, Vader, and Sid is who you're looking for in that Fatal 4-Way, Jared. Greatest Fatal, I don't know if I would go as far as greatest Fatal 4-Way. No, I definitely don't. John Cena, Randy Orton, Edge, and Shawn Michaels, Backlash. Oh, is that 7?
I think so.
Yes, 07. That's definitely the no. 08. Sorry, 08. Yeah. That's definitely the best pay-per-view Fatal 4-Way ever.
I mean, I would probably put, what was it, Brock, Strowman, Samoa Joe, and Roman. Didn't they have one at SummerSlam a couple years ago that was just, again, a car crash of a match that is fantastic. But yeah, I think it's going to be up there.
Yes, Jared. Okay, one of the best. You're right. Yes, Jared. You're right. But again, Shawn Michaels is the best, so he has to be involved in the best match.
But he's not Mr. WrestleMania.
Yes, he is Mr. WrestleMania. I digress. So, who are you picking to win this car crash of a Fatal 4-Way match for the U.S. Championship?
There's no way Jacob Fatu is losing this title this soon. The question is, I don't know who he's pinning. I probably lean that he's probably going to pin Damian Priest after just a brutal match or something happens. But I do think Jacob retains and walks out still champ.
I think that Jacob Fatu loses. I don't think he gets pinned. I think Drew McIntyre is your new United States champion to the end of this. And I think the reason is because Solo Sikoa sticks his nose in there just like he did on SmackDown. And Nick Aldis told him, you're screwing Jacob Fatu. Well, guess what? I think it comes to light at Backlash. I think whether he means to or he doesn't mean to, Solo somehow screws Jacob. Drew wins the match because, Andy, we've been teasing this Solo stuff for a long time now with Jacob. We have to pay it off at some point. And I mean, we got to get the ball rolling or nobody's going to care.
I honestly think they're going to hold off till SummerSlam. I don't think we get this till SummerSlam.
So long away, though.
Yeah. We should have had it at WrestleMania.
We absolutely should have had it at WrestleMania. No doubt.
I mean, they're trying to milk this bloodline story for as much as they can get, and it's time to move on from it. And I honestly think they're going to have this big moment at SummerSlam. Maybe he loses the U.S. title before then. Maybe it's for the U.S. title. And just Jacob just runs through Solo and wins it or retains it. But I really think they're going to push it all the way back to SummerSlam.
All right, let's quickly recap our picks here for WWE Backlash coming up this Saturday. Penta against Dominic Mysterio for the Intercontinental Championship. Who you got?
Give me Dirty Dom.
I am right there with you. Dom retains. Pat McAfee takes on Gunther. I am going Gunther in a bloodbath.
I am doing the same thing.
All right. U.S. Championship Fatal 4-Way. We just mentioned it. Jacob Fatu, Damian Priest, LA Knight, and Drew McIntyre. I'm going new champion, Drew McIntyre.
I'm going with the retaining champ, Jacob Fatu.
All right. Intercontinental Championship on the women's side. Lyra Valkyria defends against Becky Lynch.
Give me the man, Becky Lynch.
I am going retaining the championship is Lyra Valkyria. And then the main event, WWE Championship, John Cena defends one last time against the Viper, Randy Orton.
I'm going with Super Cena via Sexy Red.
I'm not going to call the actual rapper that's going to help, but I do think John Cena retains his championship in the main event of Backlash. I'll run through Jared's picks here real quick since he is in the chat. Our third co-host, if you're not a regular around here, John Cena wins. Lyra retains. Thank you. Gunther, Dirty Dom, and then Fatu is his last pick. Love that. All right, let's move on. Another comment, Jared. Yes, I saw your comment earlier and I ignored it because we were about to talk about it. Several releases this past Friday from WWE. We know it's release time right after WrestleMania, and this year was no exception. You see the big man Braun Strowman there, who sort of headlined the group. You got Shayna Baszler, Kaden Carter, Katana Chance, Dakota Kai sort of rounding out the main roster folks. Cora Jade from NXT, Jakara Jackson, Gigi Dolan, just to name a few. Andy, which one of these shocks you the most?
I mean, I think Braun's the one that shocks me the most. Because wasn't he like the first one Triple H brought back?
One of
Triple H was in charge. Yes. He was like one of the first ones he brought back. So I don't know if like they just didn't have anything for him. I didn't know if I don't know what the case is. That one shocked me, and then I am just flabbergasted they got rid of Cora Jade. I can't believe they did that. I don't know I've seen some of the reasoning, and if that's the reasoning, then that's dumb. Why they got rid of her and Gigi Dolan. But I cannot believe they got rid of her.
Yeah, Jared in the comments, and Cora shocked him the most. She has the look, and especially she can go for her age. She's only 24 years old, and is really, really talented in the ring. I saw some of the stuff that you're referring to as well. I also have read that there might have been some personality attitude issues that could have rubbed some people the wrong way. If you read the tea leaves, that she was supposedly in a relationship with Braun Breaker, and I'm not saying that he got her released or what have you. I'm just saying that there might have been some things that bounced around, and et cetera, et cetera. So I will say Shayna Baszler because, and maybe I'm naive and maybe I'm just dumb, but I really thought Shayna Baszler would do well under the Triple H regime. We could bring back the Queen of Spades, NXT, vicious Shayna Baszler to the main roster, and it didn't happen. Yeah. So, I mean, maybe she needed to be released. Maybe she needs a fresh coat of paint, as they say. But man, that only leaves one member of the former Pure Fusion Collective. Zoe Stark is hanging on by a thread, dude.
Yeah, she is. I'm kind of shocked by Shayna too. But at this point, if they're not getting a push, I don't think they're going to get the push with Triple H being in charge. Sure. If they've been there for a while.
Sure, agree.
So hers didn't shock me as much as some of the others did, but it is a shame that she was never women's champion on the main roster, was she?
No, she was never.
That's crazy.
She ran through everybody at that elimination chamber.
She should have beat Becky that year.
Yeah, she should have. Yep.
Because Becky relinquished the title at the night after Money in the Bank?
Because she was pregnant, yes. Yeah. I know.
Senile old man strikes again.
I know. I will say this. Sam Roberts made a good point in his podcast today. He thinks the most successful one outside the WWE, or at least the one that has the most paths that she can go down, is Dakota Kai.
Absolutely.
He says that. Well, why do you agree?
I think she connects with an audience a lot more than some of the others that were released. And there's a massive contention of wrestling fans that just feel like she never got that opportunity. She never got that moment to shine. And I feel like she could go to a, an Impact or a New Japan or even an AEW and get a moment to just build herself back up. I think she, out of everybody that got released, I think she's the one that's most likely to come back at some point. And come back in a big way.
Yeah, I think you're right. You're definitely right about that. I think she definitely comes back. To me, she doesn't, I know Jared's gonna laugh at that. She just doesn't have a character that I connect with or that I feel like a lot of people connect with. I'm not saying that she has to have a specific like type of character, but it just
right.
I don't feel like people connected with her as well as maybe they could on the independent scene or, what have you. I don't know. I just don't see what everybody else sees. And I'm not saying she's not a good wrestler. It doesn't really shock me that she's gone, honestly. I don't know. None of these truly shocked me. If I'm being honest, Braun Strowman, because he was just in a huge program with Bronson Reed and with Jacob Fatu. So that one definitely shocked me the most. Having said that though, we don't want to take this lightly. These are people that lost their job. So hopefully they land on their feet, and they continue to thrive in this business. Just go hit up Matt Cardona if you need any advice on how to navigate being released. One more thing, Andy, this happened the day of WrestleMania, and we haven't even talked about it. WWE acquiring AAA, the huge promotion in Mexico. This is huge for WWE, man. This is huge is the only word I could come up with, being able to expand globally and have their footprint in such a huge organization.
Yeah, I mean it's a really big deal that they were able to pull this off, and to do the things that they've been able to do so far and build to that show, Worlds Collide. I know it's Money in the Bank weekend. I think it's the day before or the day after.
It's the day of. They are on
it's that morning, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think they're going to really be pushing that hard. Anytime you do this, there's going to be controversies and things that pop up that fans aren't going to truly like, there's one thing in particular I'm not a huge fan of, but I get why they have done it. But I think it's going to be great for all parties and all companies. If they go after like a New Japan next, then it's very clear what their goal is to do. And I will be very interested to see if that happens.
We shall see if that happens. I think it's big because AAA it's a historic promotion.
Yeah.
And lots of people go there when they leave WWE. And I don't think this is a way for WWE to cut that off. But I mean, as we've seen with the partnership with TNA, and this is different. I'm not saying that WWE has acquired TNA. Of course, that could be in the cards and we don't know about it. This is a little bit different, but I don't think this is going to stop people from being able to go to AAA and spread their wings and et cetera, et cetera. It's just another way for WWE to get their foothold somewhere else in the globe and do it in a major way.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's going to do it, man, for another live edition of Squared Circle Radio. We appreciate the viewership tonight. Appreciate all the comments. Appreciate our co-host Jared hanging out with us on his work trip. We appreciate that. And Brad, City Kitty was in the chat tonight. We appreciate you guys so very much. Again, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Doesn't cost you a thing, and it helps us a ton. Tons of stuff going on, Andy, in the world of Squared Circle Radio. We want everybody to be a part of it. So like the video, subscribe. Follow if you're listening on podcast. Next week, obviously, we're going to talk about Backlash Fallout, but I also have a very special bonus episode coming next week. This is news to Andy. I'm about to drop this on him. Very special bonus episode coming next week. My friend and former broadcast colleague, Rory T. Miller, is going to join the show as he is heading up a brand new wrestling promotion in Nashville, Tennessee. We're going to get an exclusive behind the scenes look at what that new promotion is. I'll go ahead and tell you right now, their first show is June the 1st, and Dijak is in the main event against the Code, Colby Carter. So that's this new wrestling promotion. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk all about it next week. I'm excited for Rory to join the show, but Andy, I'm also excited for next Monday, our regular live show, the fallout of Backlash. I'm interested to see where they go, man.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. You definitely want to stick with us and check out next week, and check out Backlash as well. But definitely want to follow next week because I've seen what show Chris is talking about, and I have already been dying to buy a ticket for it. So I am looking forward to having that conversation. So definitely want to check back next week to join us for that.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I know Roy T. Miller and my buddy Connor Casey, who I used to work with over in the CMT building in Nashville. They're two that are spearheading this venture. Then you've got a great talent like the Code, Colby Carter, who is a mainstay here in Nashville. So it's going to be a fun time. And then breaking news in the chat, Jared Justice, an episode called the Wrestling with Justice is coming to Squared Circle Radio. What is happening? Listen, if you're not subscribed to the channel, what are you waiting for? Tons of great content coming your way. We appreciate all of your support. For Jared Justice in the chat, he'll be back on the show next week. For Mr. Andy York, my name is Chris Belcher. This has been another edition of Squared Circle Radio Live. We will catch you guys down the road.